I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Lisa, for about 7 years. We met in college, got married pretty young, and honestly, I thought we had a good thing going. She had her moments, bit bitchy sometimes, but who does? Still, I never expected her to turn into the kind of person who'd cheat on me, especially not during a military reunion of all places. See, I served in the Army for about 10 years. Lisa didn't really care much for the military, but she was supportive. We've been through a lot together: deployments, family issues, career changes. I thought we had a pretty solid marriage, or at least I did. But over the last few months, I started noticing little things. She got more distant. She'd have these late-night work calls, excuse after excuse. Her phone became a fortress, passwords changed, and she'd get defensive if I even tried to look at it. I brushed it off at first. Maybe she was just stressed, or maybe she was having an affair with some guy from her office. But then, last weekend, everything blew up. I went to her phone trying to see if there were any messages I'd missed, and I saw something that made my stomach drop. A string of texts from some guy named Rick, a supposed friend, she said. The messages weren't just friendly. They were flirty, full of innuendos, little jokes about meeting up, about how she looked hot in that dress. I felt like I'd been sucker punched. How could she be so brazen about it? That was just the start. I also noticed her behavior changing during the days leading up to the reunion. She started dressing sexier, wearing that tight little dress she'd never wear before, and she'd leave her phone more often, texting behind my back. She told me she was just catching up with old friends, but I wasn't buying it. Something was off. She was bitchier, too, snapping at me over nothing, dismissing my concerns like I was the crazy one. All of it made me suspicious, but I didn't have concrete proof yet. Then the reunion happened. I knew she was planning to go with her friend, Jessica, but I had a bad feeling. I also knew Rick was going to be there, her ex-military buddy from her old unit. I didn't like it, but I didn't have a choice but to trust her. Still, I decided I'd surprise her. I wanted to see if she'd slip up, if I could catch her in the act. The night of the reunion, I didn't go. Instead, I got a hold of some footage from a couple of fellow veterans who were there. They sent me a security feed from the hotel hallway. I watched it late at night, heart pounding. What I saw, I can't even describe it at first. I saw Lisa coming out of her room, laughing, her hand on Rick's shoulder. They clearly knew each other well. Then there was a quick cut. She disappeared into his room. The footage was blurry, but enough. I saw her body language, the way she leaned in close, the way she laughed at his stupid jokes. That was it. I had all I needed. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, fucking around with my ex-military buddy during a reunion meant to honor our service. It was a kick to the stomach, worse than I expected. I felt angry, betrayed, humiliated. I've never felt anything like that before, the kind of rage that makes your head spin. I wanted to confront her right there, right then, but I knew I needed to breathe, to collect myself. Still, part of me just wanted to tear her apart in that moment. I was sick. I felt sick. And I knew this was only the beginning. After I watched the footage, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing. How long has this been going on? Was I a fool to trust her? I kept replaying everything I knew about Lisa, her bitchy attitude, her constant excuses, her dismissiveness, and wondered how I missed all the signs. I felt numb, like my whole world had just crumbled into pieces. How could she do this? And with Rick, of all people. The guy was a total ex-military douchebag who used to look down on me, act superior because he was a few years ahead of me in the service. I stayed up all night, staring at the ceiling, imagining confrontation, imagining what I'd say. I was furious, yes, but there was also a huge wave of sadness that hit me every time I thought about how we could have been different. I kept asking myself, was I blind? Did I miss all the signs? Or was I just too caught up in the idea of us being a team, a family, to see what she was really doing behind my back? In the morning, I decided I couldn't just brush this off. I had to confront her, and I had to do it face to face. But I needed a plan. I knew Lisa. She was manipulative, bitchy, and good at lying her way out of everything. If I just came at her guns blazing, she'd deny everything, call me paranoid, or turn the tables on me. So I played it cool. I waited until she came home from work, pretending I didn't know anything. When she walked in that evening, I was sitting on the couch, calm but pissed off. She looked surprised, and that moment of hesitation told me she knew I'd found out. I kept my cool and asked her how her day was. She snarked back, "Better than yours, apparently. What's your deal today?" I shrugged and said I'd been thinking about us, about her, about trust. I told her I saw her texts. I told her I saw her coming out of Rick's hotel room. Her reaction was classic Lisa. She rolled her eyes, scoffing. "Oh, please, that was just some stupid joke. You're reading too much into it. Rick and I, it's nothing, just a friendly catch-up. You're overreacting like always." Her voice dripped with sarcasm, but I wasn't stupid. I knew she was lying. She always did when she got caught. I pressed her about the video, and she tried to deny it, saying I must have mistaken it for something innocent. But I knew better. I'd watched that footage more times than I could count, and her body language was obvious. She was lying through her teeth. I asked her outright, "Are you sleeping with him?" She scoffed again, smirked, and said, "You're crazy. Rick's just an old friend. You're jealous because I don't want to spend my whole life with a guy who can't trust me." That hit me hard. Her words, her tone, she was so dismissive, like she was trying to make me feel crazy for suspecting her. But I wasn't buying it. The confrontation got heated fast. She started yelling, calling me paranoid, controlling, insecure. She accused me of spying on her, said I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't want her to cheat on me, that I'd been loyal, giving her everything I had, and this was how she repaid me. She scoffed again, said I was just jealous because Rick was a real man, unlike me. That was when I realized she was just trying to turn the tables, make me doubt myself. That's her style. Manipulate, lie, dismiss. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak. I wanted to hurt her, to make her see what she'd done. But I also just felt exhausted, like I'd been punched repeatedly. I told her I needed time to think, that I couldn't just forgive her overnight. She laughed at that, told me I was overreacting, that I was losing my mind. I knew then that she had no intention of stopping, that she saw this as just a little fling, a game. She never cared about me. She only cared about keeping her options open. That realization hit me harder than anything else. By the time she went to bed that night, I was already planning what to do next. I couldn't stay in this marriage and pretend everything was fine. I needed to get out, or at least figure out how to make her pay for what she did. My mind kept racing. Was there any way to save this? Or was it already dead? Honestly, I felt broken. I'd been blindsided, betrayed by someone I trusted more than anyone else in the world. And now, I just didn't know who she really was anymore. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My mind was racing, replaying everything from last night, her sneers, her lies, that damn smirk when she thought she was fooling me. I knew I couldn't just let this go, not without some kind of payback. I've never been the vengeful type, but this was different. She crossed a line I never thought she'd cross. First thing I did was gather every piece of evidence I could find. I kept her phone, took screenshots of the texts, downloaded that hotel footage. I wanted to be ready for whatever she threw at me. I also called a couple of those military friends who had sent me the footage, good guys, veterans, and they understood the whole thing. I told them I was planning to confront her again, but this time I wanted to make sure she knew I had everything. I didn't want to come off as just some guy angry and lashing out. I needed a plan, something calculated, something that hit her where it hurt. I decided I'd catch her off guard, but I also wanted her to see that I knew everything. If she thought she could just lie her way out, she was dead wrong. So I played it cool during the day, acting like I hadn't found anything, but inside I was brewing my revenge. When she got home, I was already waiting in the living room. I didn't say much at first. She looked at me, her eyes narrowing, probably sensing I was up to something. I kept my tone calm but firm. I told her I wanted to talk, no yelling, no accusations, just facts. I laid out everything, the texts, the footage, the hotel's security logs I managed to get from my friends. Her face went pale for a moment. She knew I was serious. Her reaction was predictable. She started lying again, spinning some story about how Rick is just an old friend, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. She tried to dismiss the footage, to call it a misunderstanding, but I cut her off. I told her I wasn't interested in her lies anymore. I was done playing her game. That's when I dropped the bomb. I told her I had already contacted a lawyer, that I was ready to file for divorce. Her eyes widened like she'd been shot. She started yelling, calling me a crazy, jealous freak, saying I was ruining everything over some stupid video. She accused me of spying on her, of invading her privacy, but I didn't care. I wanted her to understand I knew the truth and I was done pretending it was okay. Then she got even bitchier. She started crying, trying to manipulate me. "You don't love me," she sobbed. "You're just jealous because I looked at Rick. We're just old friends. It's nothing, I swear." Her voice cracked under the weight of her lies, but I knew better. I'd seen the footage, I'd read the texts. There was no denying what she was doing. I told her she could keep lying, but I wasn't buying it anymore. That I was leaving her, that I was done with the lies, the cheating, the bullshit. I packed a bag that night and I left while she was crying and screaming. Honestly, it felt like I was finally waking up from a nightmare I'd been living for too long. I didn't want her back, not after everything I'd seen and heard. The aftermath hit me hard. I felt relief, but also a terrible emptiness. I kept thinking about all the moments we'd shared, good and bad, and wondered how I'd been so blind. The betrayal cut deep, but at least now I knew the truth. I realized I deserved better than someone who'd lie and cheat and manipulate. It was a brutal lesson, but I was finally starting to accept it. I promised myself I'd never be that naive again, and I'd never let someone treat me like that. Now I'm just trying to pick up the pieces. Moving on. It's been a couple of weeks and I'm still hurt, still angry. But I'm also relieved that I see her for who she really is, just a woman who lied, cheated, and broke my trust. And I'll never let that happen again. If you're in a similar boat, my advice is don't ignore the signs. Trust your gut, gather your evidence, and don't be afraid to walk away. Because being betrayed like this, it messes with your head, but you can survive it. Just gotta find a way to move forward. After I moved out and finally cut ties, I thought I'd feel some huge weight lift off my shoulders. Honestly, it was a mixed bag. Part of me felt free, like I finally saw her for who she really was, and I was done wasting my life on someone who lied so easily. But another part of me felt hollow, like I'd lost a part of myself. I kept replaying the last few months, trying to understand how I missed all the signs, how I let her manipulate me for so long. The worst part was realizing how much she lied about everything. She told me she was just catching up with friends, that Rick was just an old buddy. Then I saw the footage and I knew she'd been lying all along. I also learned she'd been hiding her phone constantly, acting defensive whenever I got close, and flirting behind my back. It made me question every little thing, every date night, every conversation, every "I love you." How much of it was real? How much of her was just pretending? I started going to therapy, trying to make sense of everything. It's not easy admitting you got played like a fool. I'd always prided myself on being strong, resilient, some veteran who could handle anything. But this was different. It hurt more than I thought it would. There was a deep shame, too, like I failed as a husband, as a man. I kept wondering if I should have seen the signs, if I should have fought harder. But the truth is, I was just blindsided, completely. One thing I learned during this process is that it's crucial to lean on my friends. I reached out to a couple of buddies from the military. They didn't judge me. Instead, they told me their own stories of betrayal and recovery. It helped. They reminded me that I deserved better, that I had been a good husband before all this, and that I shouldn't let one woman's lies define me. That was a tough lesson, but an important one. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to start rebuilding. In the weeks that followed, I started focusing on myself. I hit the gym hard, trying to clear my head. I enrolled in some classes to get my mind off everything. And slowly I found that I was starting to breathe again. Still, there were nights when I'd lie awake thinking about her, about Rick, and about what I should have done differently. The betrayal burned deep, but I knew I had to move past it. I couldn't let her ruin me. What also struck me was how her attitude didn't change even after I left. She kept texting, trying to explain herself, but every message just made me more certain I'd made the right decision. She called me paranoid, accused me of overreacting, and said I was just insecure. Sure, I was insecure because I trusted her, because I loved her. Her lies shattered that trust, and now I was left picking up the pieces. Honestly, I used to think marriage was about loyalty, about standing by each other no matter what. But I realize now, not everyone's cut out for that. Some people just want what they want, and they'll lie, cheat, and manipulate to get it. I learned the hard way that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Sometimes walking away is the only answer. That's what I chose. I'd rather be alone than live with someone who treats me like this. So yeah, I'm still hurting, still trying to accept what happened, but I also feel stronger. This experience has taught me that I'm capable of surviving the worst. I just need to stay true to myself. And if there's one thing I can tell anyone reading this, if you find yourself in a similar situation, trust your instincts. Gather your evidence, confront the bullshit, and don't be afraid to walk away. Because at the end of the day, your happiness and dignity come first. And no one, no matter how bitchy or manipulative, should make you feel small. It's been a few months now, and honestly, I'm still trying to put everything back together. Some days are better than others. I wake up, breathe, remind myself that I'm better off without someone who could betray me so easily. But other days, I can't help but replay everything. The lies, the cheating, the way she so casually dismissed my feelings. It's like a scar that just won't heal, no matter how much I try to move on. One thing I've realized is how much this has changed my perspective on trust. I used to think it was unbreakable, that if you loved someone, you could work through anything. Turns out, some people just don't value that trust enough to keep it. Lisa didn't care about us. She wanted her own fun, her own escapes, and she lied her way through it. I've come to accept that I was naive, and that's a harsh lesson. But it's also a lesson I won't forget. I've started dating again, though cautiously. I don't jump into anything serious right away. It's hard to trust anyone after what I went through. I see red flags now where I used to overlook them. I don't ignore that little voice inside that warns me when something feels off. I'm more selective, more careful, and honestly, a lot more guarded. But I also refuse to let her steal my happiness completely. I owe that to myself. The biggest thing I've learned is that revenge isn't about revenge at all. It's about reclaiming your dignity and moving forward. I could have spent all my time bitter trying to get even, but that would have just kept me stuck in the past. Instead, I chose to focus on my own healing. I cut out toxic people from my life, I stopped dwelling on what she did, and I started rebuilding myself. That's the real victory, getting my life back piece by piece. Every now and then I wonder what she's up to. Probably still with Rick, probably still lying and pretending everything's fine. I don't care anymore. I learned that people like her don't change. They only get better at hiding their true selves for a while. I also learned that the biggest power you have is to walk away, no matter how much it hurts, and to surround yourself with people who actually care. If you're reading this and going through something similar, hear me out. Don't chase after someone who's lied to you. Don't keep digging for excuses or trying to fix what can't be fixed. Trust your gut, gather your evidence, and get out before they drag you further into their bullshit. Your peace of mind is worth more than any apology or sob story. You'll come out stronger, maybe not overnight, but eventually. And when you do, you'll realize that sometimes the biggest act of love you can give yourself is walking away from someone who doesn't deserve you. I'm still healing, still learning, but I'm finally moving forward. And that feels damn good. Looking back now, I see this whole ordeal as a brutal but necessary lesson. I lost someone I thought was my life partner, but I gained clarity about who I am and what I deserve. Lisa's betrayal forced me to face a side of myself I hadn't really needed to before, that part that refuses to be played for a fool twice. It's strange how pain like this can strip away the illusions, leaving you with a raw, honest version of yourself. I've come to realize that the most important thing in life is your own peace of mind. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's damn near impossible to fix. Some people, like Lisa, just aren't worth that kind of effort. I learned to listen to that little voice inside, to trust my instincts, and most importantly, to respect myself enough to walk away when something isn't right. No matter how much I loved her, her actions made it clear she didn't love me enough to stay loyal. And honestly, that kind of betrayal is worse than any breakup I've ever gone through. In this process, I've also discovered the importance of boundaries. I used to give too much, think I could fix everyone, believe that love alone could solve everything. But real love isn't about fixing someone who doesn't want to be fixed. It's about mutual respect, honesty, and trust. Without those, everything else is just a house of cards ready to fall. Now I focus on rebuilding my life with a clearer mind. I cherish my friends more, I take care of my mental health, and I refuse to let someone else's lies define me. The pain will always be there, but so will the lessons. I know I'll love again someday, more wisely, more cautiously. And next time I'll trust myself to see the signs before everything blows up. So if you're going through something similar, trust me, keep your head up. You are stronger than you think. You don't need someone who lies to you, who cheats behind your back, or who dismisses your feelings. The right person will respect you, value you, and never make you question your worth. If they do, cut them loose. No explanation needed. This experience has made me realize that sometimes the best revenge is simply living your truth, healing, and proving to yourself that you're better without the baggage of lies and betrayal. I am finally at peace, and for the first time in a while, I feel genuinely hopeful about what's ahead. Because after the storm, the sun always comes out, and I'm ready to walk into it with or without her.